All right, we are recording. Huzzah! Welcome. Appreciate everyone showing up, and those who are keeping an eye out and all that as well, and everyone has been with us from the beginning and from when on. Um, big update. As part of like the winter break, like as I have been discussing, um, essentially what to do based on our staff capacity and some other notes. Um, which has led me to look at my own schedule, and I have realized that things are very difficult. Um, One, based on the data that we've gathered, we have maybe 2, 3 DMs at this point, if you include myself. Um, that alone is not really sustainable for the living world that we have. Um, it's pretty bad, yes. Uh, More than that, opening up would require certain people to have more free time to train people on the new systems. And by certain people, I mean like myself or some other old guard, those who are like pretty savvy with it. So we would need a lot of people in training, which right now we don't have really any interest in people joining training. Though with this note, people might be interested. Who knows? Um, Either way, to give you guys an idea of my schedule, I am currently working a full-time job and then a part-time job, and then I'm running 3 pay-to-play games, and then I'm going to university full-time. So my schedule's packed. The amount of time I have for fun stuff tends to be spending time with my girlfriend. If I just so happen to have free time at work, I will be working on D&D stuff. So like prep for like updating the equipment guide and stuff. But it's so minuscule at this point. It is difficult. Um, so feasibly, at least myself right now, until probably May. I think May is when it's going to get easier for me because I'm hoping by then I'm going to be accepted into this program I've signed up for, and I'm already past the interview phase. Uh, if that is the case, I'm going to be quitting both my jobs and going over to California because it's an internship in Cali, much better. Um, so I'll have more free time if that is the case. Thanks, much appreciated. I'm hoping for the best, considering that the head honcho of like hiring emailed me and was like, "I love your resume." I feel pretty good about it. Yeah. That all said, though, um, with where we stand, um, opening up or not, I do not see a way to continue with the current desired goals of the living world. In that, having it be, you know, uh, assigned dungeon masters who are running games that interconnect, that have this overarching downtime that can affect everything, where people in RP can change things and all that fun stuff. Uh, want it, want an improved version of it. I still think we can make it better than it currently is. I'm sure everyone here agrees with that. Um, much better in some ways, in certain ways. Anyways, tangent aside, um, big thing here is part of what Legacy and I have been discussing has been what to do going forward. Their thought, and I am of a similar opinion. Yeah, essentially what Legacy just said there. It's not really viable with what we're looking at with what we have right now for people's availability. Um, but the thought right now is to, at least for a bit, hopefully until my schedule opens back up again. We can shift back into a living world gear, and by then we might have uh, more staff available. But the current idea is to shift this Discord into a gaming hub. Everyone can keep playing your characters, keep playing the storylines that you guys are wanting. That is not an issue, I don't believe. Um, Especially since we've been pretty focused on static groups, so not really changing too much there. It just means you have to worry less about back end. This would also allow us to open up our systems for anyone who is interested in running games in the systems that we use, or even just in the setting, to then, be able to, like, I'm a dungeon master. I'm open to running games. Who wants to sign up for my game? So essentially, we would allow a new channel anyone who's interested in running games can utilize, rather than only those with the dungeon master tag, or I should say, living world GM tag. So that is the current idea, and I wanted to get people's thoughts on that. Part of this also ties into, before I get in thoughts section, the form that Legacy has been putting together to kind of get an idea of every player's current storyline, goals, and kind of like that thing that we've been working on. So we can at least make sure that people feel some closure, that are not wanting to continue on in whatever capacity that we might have. Or, acid. Who are wanting to continue on when we return from hiatus, or for, whatever XYZ reason. So with all that said, with the idea to shift to a hub and the form to be placed out, what are people's thoughts?
I'm writing thoughts, but please share everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I really have any. I mean, I don't see a realm in which we get more DMs, I suppose. And, like, sure, maybe there will be just people who, the sign up to do it. But I guess, like, if you put it on hiatus, at the end of the day, I can't, like, really see myself thinking too much of it one way or another. So it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah.
But, conversely, I also don't really see, coming back from hiatus I suppose I should say, how you even have the GMs to return from a hiatus, right? Because that means
Yeah.
something would have to change or shift after the fact. And then even beyond that, I'm glad you realize your schedule is that packed. Because another, like, truth with, like, I mean this it, like, no level of disrespect, even though, like, it could be interpreted that way. You've been saying you'd be less busy for, like, what, like, damn near 2 years now. And everyone has different priorities, and that's totally fine, right? But you are very focused on, getting your career done, getting through school, doing all of that jazz, working so that you, don't have mountains of debt and can
Yeah.
support yourself and things like that. And that's all, like, that's great. That's what you should be doing, right? But how many times have we been told, so and so will have more free time? It just doesn't happen. It probably won't happen until, like, you get to a point where, like, you're making big money, you have loads of free time, maybe you've married your girlfriend and your kids are grown up or something, right? When you're, like, older and retired, and you actually truly do have that free time. Because even myself, like, I've gotten less time, less motivated, but I've gotten less time recently myself as well.
Mm.
I think hate is probably the only one maybe with motivation at this point, because the break really kind of killed the momentum that I did have, and
Mhm.
really that was me just trying to trudge through stories and stuff. So I don't have an opinion as far as like hiatus and like the plan to come back from hiatus, if I could call it a plan, because the only way we could call it a plan is if we somehow have a means to alleviate it. So like a hub to like use the system for people who want to use the system, I think's cool.
Mhm.
I don't know and would be interested to see if anybody did use it for that purpose. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
'Cause I do like, the potential for the system and like the different changes and aspects of it. It makes, 5e more interesting for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Quick thoughts following on what Kyaman said. We've always approached this from the beginning as life comes first, and I think this is just standing by what we've always followed, I think.
Oh yeah,
So I
100%.
Oh
think
yeah.
the main thing we want to figure out from here onward is seeing what we all still enjoy, what we want closure on or to work on, and moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah. Speaking of options, or like what people might want, if there is a group here that would prefer to keep it as a living world, I am more than happy to uh, step aside or step away, whatever that might be, so people can take on the director role, give you guys the server. Um, Whether you want to keep within the setting or not, that is a pretty big decision. If you guys do go that route, and if you guys want to keep the setting, I'm happy to be here and provide what I can. Generally, I will only be available with the current workload in the middle of the night. And by that, I mean like 3 a.m. because I'll be running audit, which means I'll have a lot of free time, but I tend to use that for schoolwork or prepping for the pay to play games. But I can answer questions, those don't take a lot of time. Um, if that is something you guys would prefer. That all said, though, um,
At one point, maybe I would have said like, yeah, let's do that. Let's like, gather up the people who have more time, who are interested and motivated to do that, to make the changes, to kind of like adapt it in such a way that, we're not waiting on one person or another person. We like actively communicate a lot more because the people who are doing things have more time. But I don't know.
mm,
I don't know anymore. I find myself like significantly less motivated after the break, and I think
the
the only
breaks always do that.
yeah, I think the only person who has even been saying or doing anything in the staff chat was Posino doing downtimes every so often. And then the one time Sleepless asked a question a couple days ago about somebody else's question about Death Knell and empowered casting or something. I forget the rule, it's the name. But yeah, outside of that, like
Well, we got a couple
nothing.
others as well, but yeah, the people who were active during the break was pretty low. But it's a break, so I didn't expect them to really be active. But you know, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
So that all said, if there's any other thoughts regarding the
We're structured
options,
for that, I think. But even if we're improved relative to more bottlenecked systems, I think fundamentally it relies on a drive, just as any smaller campaign or setting or world, right?
yeah, it definitely does require personal drive. Um, like with any project, if you do not have the motivation to do something, it's going to be an issue. Um, right now, the idea is to gather a uh, survey essentially of the players, see how they feel. Um, if we switch to hub, um, get those players, same players, character arcs, their stories, see if we can't get a nice, neat list, because obviously we might have players who we're working with a dungeon master before that has since left, and if they can provide us the story details, we can perhaps continue that story beat. We don't want them to have just dead storylines. Something that anyone can pick up.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it just depends on what players want to provide. If there's a dead storyline, there's a dead storyline. But with that, kind of get that main player listing settled up. Whatever players don't want to fill it out, that's fine. It's just there for those who are interested. And then from the hub, there would be the option for more DMs, in that we would open it up for anyone who has interest in trying to run games, regardless on if they use Spheres of Divinity or not. As long as they're in the setting, I think it's all Buddha, in my opinion. Unless people prefer them to use Spheres of Divinity, just to keep things consistent. But
I
you know,
I think if you're gonna go that route, you run into the two options that are people are gonna want to try and run other stuff. Like they're gonna try and want to run like I forget what the other one you run is. Outbound, inbound.
Unbound.
Yeah, outbound. Um, you may get games like that, and some may like that, and that's fine. But then you run into the thing of when you finally have time, or when we decide that someone else takes over, those all games also go.
That's a fair point.
Because once that shift happens, you're going back to that system that we've been playing for the last 3 years. 3.5 years, whatever. I like the HUD idea. I think keeping it Syrik is fine because I've seen a ton of people say how they really enjoy the Syrik system.
Mhm.
They 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 just don't like certain things, like how complicated the crafting system is in small things like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they love some of the changes. They love how classes feel. They love how it doesn't feel like it's 5e,
Mhm.
because 5e's ass. It always has been.
For the simple
So
boys.
so I think keeping it as a Syric system, if you do the HUD thing, is good because there's already a bunch of people who love the high power to it.
Totally. And it's fortunate in that the Friday pay to play game is using the Spheres of Divinity system. I really need to change the name or something. It's so hard for me to say Divinity after saying Spheres.
Yeah. So I I don't see a HUD being a bad thing. I
Mhm.
think it works for the style that we want to do, and I think
I
because
think
that
hub
would
is an awkward way to put it because it's still trying to keep it relatively formal, but I think a better way to put it is just transitioning away from constantly trying to keep the stories together into a community server for the system.
Well, that is what essentially a gaming hub is.
yeah, and I think a lot of people that DM'd before
Sorry,
would
got confused then.
yeah, I think a lot of people that DM'd before would like that idea because it allows them to have more freedom, a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I say a little bit because obviously, you can't have like someone running a game where, hey, they're fighting Krogoth the World Ender. You know, there's still limits.
Mhm. That is definitely true. Part of the hub would, if we ever do return from a hub system to a living world, would require us to determine what is canon based on what happened. it's fine.
That would I would also say if you're going to do that, which I don't see a reason not to, given the way that, again, like Octa pointed out, you're trying to do stuff for your life, and honestly, that's great. That is fantastic that you're getting all this stuff. It's fantastic you're doing great. Uh, you don't have time, and those of us that can answer stuff are also like either tired or also have other stuff happening even over the break. You could probably open it up to tier 3.
Well, I part of the hub would be just play whatever you want, as long as you're in the system.
We're trying to keep together a canon without anyone actually having the time and ability to constantly talk to every active party and group and GM and region to actually keep the lore together.
Yeah.
We've tried with heads and stuff, but realistically people have been more dedicated to writing in isolated areas than actually documenting, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
That's tough and basically a full-time job.
It's true. I suppose, kind of based on Legacy's initial confusion with the word hub, just to clarify what I mean, when I say hub, I more mean a Discord community gathered around the idea of the system that we are using. The games in place may have previously been Living World games, may not have been. Whatever the case may be, they would be utilizing the setting. Whether they connect with other games that are also running at the same time, that is up to the DMs in question. Essentially, it's like the Unbound community server. Yeah, it is a gaming hub. So most of the channels will be dedicated to like that regard, or like community gatherings. So those who would be on staff, so to speak, would be more of like community managers, people who are running like Minecraft servers to run with players. People who can answer questions for lore, since we have a lot of lore masters here. Essentially that.
I think with the staff we have now, that's fine.
Okay, I have some ideas and notes on that for this meeting that I'd like input on, so gonna write some stuff there. I think this is better than really doing a full freeze and just going completely inactive until you're in a state to keep working on the system.
I'm hoping that will be when I'm in California. Just because looking at it, like, schedule-wise, time-wise, when I'm in Cali, I'll be working full-time as the intern, but I'll be making at least $80,000, because that's the pay for the intern, which I find is amazing.
Thank God.
Yes.
What part of California are you in?
It is in Northern California, so it's not like the best, but I also have my partner with me who is working full time, and with a combined income, we're good. Especially if I take a part-time job as a night auditor in a hotel there, which case their pay is $30 an hour, which is insane for night audit to me. But anyways, that will give me free time doing a night audit, which is my plan, so I can do things outside of work.
Also, California rather than Utah in the current climate, which I'm not going to say anything more, but as an ER doc, I'm so very emotionally exhausted.
Yes, that is another reason why I want to move to Cali. But that aside, time-wise, I will be getting back 7 days a week. Right now, that's basically what I'm doing. It'll be not anywhere near as painful. But I'm still working on the system because, of course, Friday, the pay-to-play game for Friday is in the system. So I'm still working on it, updating it as we play. I'm looking at what they're doing and be like, oh, that needs to be fixed. We're like, oh, that needs to be fixed on my end because my monsters are crazy.
A little bit. I mean, after some of the fights, I'm kind of like, man, if I didn't do this damage, I think we're dead.
Yeah. Well, it is supposed to make you feel a little scared because it is a survival game at first, at least. But also, I feel like you're starting to feel the changes of like why the power level is the way it is.
So big question one from me here from what you've said, and this is for all of you here. What parts of what we've been doing over the past 3+ years with the server do you guys want to either keep doing in some form, or resolve before we freeze it up?
Uh, I don't know.
Say that again.
I don't know. By things that we would keep doing.
I mean, you're still running games, so you need the DMs. You need someone who's going to take care of the characters because you're going to have people trying to, want stuff, or they die, or they need a new sheet because there's no reason not to use the sheets.
Hmm.
Um, PvP can be handled by the GM itself because they're technically not going to be part of the system. Technically,
Yeah. I,
so if they die, kind of thing.
I think a good question would be to have would be like a quick form made uh, for any staff currently on file to see if there's anything they would like to add, especially for those who are not able to make the meeting and provide their insight. Um, Outside of that, though, for staff side of things, essentially anyone who wants to stay on as staff would be more of like a community manager, someone who helps support the community, who might have knowledge of the system's inner workings or um, the lore, or people who have interest in help moderating or otherwise like running events, which you guys can run as you see fit. So like if people want to have a movie night where we all watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie for obvious reasons, or watching Fallout.
Mm.
Yeah, there's options. More of a community hub that opens those doors to us a bit further because our focus is less on ensuring the living world systems are in place. For those who are interested in staying on as staff, that is. Beyond that, though, I can easily make a form, or someone else can, whoever wishes, where we can get everyone's opinions, and if there is things they would like to see or things they would like done or changed or whatnot. But that's kind of where I'm at and my thoughts on it. So, others' thoughts are welcome. Oh yeah, certainly. That does bring up a question. If people are running hub games and you're running like custom classes that you made specifically for your game, custom prestige classes or whatnot, custom talents, feats, uh, origins, or whatnot. Um, by the time we return, I would definitely save that information because I am happy to canonize anything, as long as it doesn't break other canon. But I'll work with you to make sure it fits, whatever way that might be. Whether it's updating my stuff or updating your stuff, we'll work together. Um, that way it's and if you need it something on the official World Anvil, and I'm like, cool, we can get that worked on too. But that's for when we go into the hub style or like in the transition period. But for the form, those are some good questions if people do want to just keep doing things. But I don't think we need really um, staff tags specifically designed for the things like that. We don't really need new content as a hub. At least not D&D specific living world content. Um, that said, if people do want to work on the Spheres of Divinity system, I'll definitely be happy to have people help out with it. I know when I am not dealing with this stupid fucking class, I'm going to be sending Gilman a message. So
One day it'll happen.
One day. This class has been taking all my time. I have met with my team daily for the past week at 9 a.m. my time. Keep in mind that I get home at 7 a.m. So I have to stay up an extra 2 hours before I can go to bed. And then an extra hour after that, assuming the meeting's only an hour. It's pain.
Makes sense.
So hopefully I'm free for that soon. And I can get with you, Octo, and we can go through and get you onboarded for the PDF, or not PDF, it's a docx, but yeah.
Very
Anyways, it's very big.
very large one.
All right.
My biggest question here, which I have no idea the specifics of either, would be how we handle characters and stuff.
That'll be up to the
More of
DM.
a role-playing thing and just have it be explicit that nothing is canonized or permanently affects without agreement and whatnot. Also, it's not really that stupid, nerp, it's life, take care of yourself.
Oh, it's stupid because the class is annoying. There's assignments I'm like, well, this should have been in a bachelor's degree early on. Why am I doing this? And why is it taking this long?
School is hella important. I'm glad you are going straight into masters though. Yeah, GE stuff, dumb
Yeah.
LMFAO.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, percentage, we still have the roll for events. You'd still have the channel with, hey, this is when the game's playing, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You'd still have the bot, which
Yeah, we just make the bot available for anyone who wants to DM rather than only those we have granted the tag. Because it would be a hub for then those who want to run games here.
And those who stay as like whatever community managers or whatever you want to call them can make sure people don't abuse the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say it'd probably be good to like take people's characters, the items that they have on them, freeze them, and set them aside, and then go like, okay, now whatever you add to like this sheet beyond what we've already copied and set off to the side can be things that you bring to, you know, the games and things. So you
Yeah.
have your character sheet. Maybe you can start a game with another GM or something, and you guys start at that level or whatever, and you have these items and stuff, and you could do that, and it's something that's agreed on. Or, you know, if the GM wants a fresh thing, do a fresh thing, whatever.
Solid plan.
The only thing you have to do is, well, the only thing that I would have to do is go copy that folder for all the sheets,
Yep.
make a copy, and then
remove
never
access.
touch it again. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, it'd be pretty easy. Super easy
And
adjustment.
Never touch it again for the next like whatever amount of time.
Yeah, I'll just drag it into the admin channel so no one has
Okay, question for everyone here right now, but does anyone want to still try to move the world forward at all? Like, do you have stories and characters and stuff you want to move forward that you are currently doing? Players obviously have this much more, but I want to check from you all.
Yeah, I got plenty of stuff. It's more or so about the motivation. I guess like part of my motivation was just like, all right, between some like additional responsibilities that I've gotten recently and, you know, not really seeing anybody else have very much motivation to do this or that, both I think on the player side and on the staff side, is kind of like just be, you know, spending time for no significant reason, and that demotivated me. But if it's like a personal project where it's like, yeah, I don't have to do a game like 3 times a week, I could do a whole bunch or a whole little or, you know, whatever, that makes me a
whenever you're
little bit
feeling.
more motivated. So yeah. I have something written out. I don't remember where I put it with like a gist of what I was doing, and some of it has evolved. Like I've got, and this may be spoilers for like certain people and their characters, but given how much it'll probably evolve, it's ultimately inconsequential. Abby's got a foot in dealing with Zurist vampire cabal, whether she knows it or not. She's dealing with an entire new magic academy that I'm trying to write from Sitham's base. She has gotten herself involved with a tortured Eldritch Knight who has
Yeah,
killed
I totally
her.
understand.
You know,
Trying
our
to document a few down at least, so we can try to include that in how we set things up post-freeze if that makes sense. Like I
yeah,
don't want the freeze to mean that I can't write 400-year-old history for Elderia when the mood strikes me randomly.
Yeah.
And I don't want Kate to be locked out of writing Dolighter stuff and sharing with Nerp to review whenever he can so she can keep running her regular games,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone can chime in. I agree with that. Make it as generous as possible. And we'll keep this form we're gonna release. That way, if you don't have to think about it on the spot. Um, that way people can reference it and kind of see where we're at, and if someone does want to take on certain roles as well, we'll have access to it. And then from there, we can also use anything that happened up until that point. So basically, the form setting out the world stage of these characters. Um, Anything that happens that we want to canonize from the hub switch to whenever we might be able to switch back if we decide to do that. Maybe people would prefer the hub system. Who knows? But we can go from there. But getting these forms out, getting people's thoughts on it would be definitely helpful.
Well, I mean, there's nothing saying you can't spend your 30K once you're, in the hub system. So
Hmm.
at least you have a higher chance of spending it.
Yeah, it's definitely up to the DM, whoever wants to take you on.
Also, I've been sitting on 42K for 3 years,
Mm.
so
I think I probably would have more, but I stopped keeping track of my money after a certain point, and I was just like, I don't really care
I,
anymore.
I, I, th- I think as is, I think the hub system will actually alleviate some people because I think some of them are only like I think that some people on staff will just outright just be like, hey, now I don't have to really do anything. I can not have to worry about stuff,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which which would leave the people who are already DMs doing stuff. It would allow our let's see, w- we only currently have 4 DMs. We have 2 mods. We have uh, we have 3 DDT staff.
I will note
Because
that going back
full
to a
stuff.
living world, we're going to realize how many holes are in the disconnected storylines because part of the struggle is how disconnected everything is. Not in the sense that people can't go to other places, but in the sense that not every GM knows what every other character and storyline is going on and can't reasonably be expected to keep track of every storyline. So before any unfreeze, we'd have to make a goddamn timeline, lol. This is what the VP calendar was meant to do in a sense, but that really wasn't sufficient to keep up with anything more than a couple GMS, I'll be real, and most people didn't use VP that actively either.
I mean, the way I see like a lot of the ideas of like a canon and like holes and things is that like really, if you find something that like ends up being a problem, whoever wrote the first piece or like the older piece or whatever, and whoever wrote the new piece can only just sit down and like write through it. I struggle to ever find something that I can't write through unless it explicitly says this works in this way, and then someone else says no, it works in this way instead. Where the intention is to overcome it, because you can always, MacGuffin it and add something like, this is an exception to this, where between the two people who wrote the conflicting pieces of content and go, okay, what's going to be our baseline for whatever the thing is. Okay, why would this be an exception and like what case? Just write that in there. And then you have a new piece of content that can be used for exceptions and stuff later down the line. I find that to be easier and resolved by fewer
But
people
the
than it
problem is
is.
it scales exponentially, and we often have dozens of connections rather than just a handful.
Right. But the other issue that I have with that is it would require in that same vein, instead of it like scaling, you try to like force it all up front, right? And that requires coordinating way more people way more often to try to sift through things that may not come up like multiple times. Because we're not like, writing for television or
I'm
anything
not saying
here.
you're wrong, it's just that we never actually faced that or tried to accommodate it, so if we do want to go back to LW we should clean that up first rather than directly unfreezing.
Wait, LW?
Living World.
Oh, okay. I thought
That's what I
Algeria
mean.
got a new name. I thought they were getting it all.
Eldaria, known as LW.
LW. I'm putting E in front of that L. It's like LW, huh? I wouldn't say we didn't try, because we have talked about this and potential
Basically, I'm
conflicts.
agreeing with you and just saying we should keep in mind the issues with coordinating stuff in the future if we ever unfreeze.
Hard. I agree with that, yeah.
Hmm.
The overall sentiment.
Yeah.
Well, you have Vinland has its own issues now that we have the world open. Uh,
Yeah. Hmm. While we prep the forms to go out and whatnot, is there anything anyone else would like to bring up? Things to note, things to discuss? More on this topic. For mail, that is a mighty fine question. Since for mail, I would suppose that would be more tied to the DM in question. Uh, for the hub system. Yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, if we have any outgoing mail that still needs to go out, we definitely want to send those out. But otherwise, I think at least for the hub system, we put it on pause, and if a DM wants to send mail, they know the system that we have in place, so they can utilize it. Just like we have the downtime, it would effectively be on pause, and they can choose to utilize it. So, subject to DM discretion.
and people would be able to do like the DDT trading in game if they would anyway. So
True. Could just automate it.
yeah, well, it's that and like most people already know how many things take what and all that stuff.
Sleepless, do you want to keep doing system development or what did you want to do with the classes? I'm not entirely sure.
I think for the next little bit, we should for regular meetings, just until we have this transition made. At a certain point, whoever wants to be the community manager, director, head honcho, etc., whatever you want to call it, whatever we decide to call it, um, they'll probably take over my reins in that regard if things get super busy. Um, but this Sunday, super early time, that works for me because I'm going to be home and awake probably for another. From now, I'll probably be awake for another 45 minutes, and then I tend to go to bed around that time, just because I normally have like dinner at this point and whatnot.
Technically, we could go back to the yield thing where we just have meetings every Sunday, and if no one shows up, there's just no meeting that day,
Yeah.
which would give some form of stable meetings if people really need it.
Mhm.
Or a time that's not 9 o'clock in the morning.
What was that last part?
Or a time that's not 9 o'clock in the morning, if
Well,
possible.
if people want to set up meetings for the hub outside of that, that is totally fine. What works for me are the 2 times that I posted, and Wednesday has now been removed because I was just scheduled for this week to work on Wednesday at that time.
Yeah.
Which is a pain.
I don't know if anyone is realistically qualified for that NERP because this really is ultimately based on something that you're more passionate about than any of us.
That's fair.
We're all passionate about individual parts and fun aspects of the server and community and system and world, but I don't think, though if anyone wants to contest this, please do. Anyone else has the ability you do.
Well, I do think part of the hub system itself will not require my direct supervision, as it is. It's more of a community management position in this case. It is not a living world director position. Think of it kind of like a manager of a club or something. A board game shop.
What I mean is, what would make someone want to manage the hub,
That's fair.
I guess someone who likes hosting stuff.
But I would say, just to keep things going, at least for the next little bit. If things change, we can go from there. But assume weekly Sundays at 8 a.m. MST, 9 a.m. CST, 10 a.m. EST. The time that we did today. And we can figure things out from there. If people show up, we'll have a meeting.
On Sundays to keep working on this then?
Yes.
This is a lot more chill than trying to gather everyone's storylines and updates and push it out, lol.
Yeah. And if we end up showing up on Sundays, we don't really have much to discuss. It'll probably be a really short meeting. That's good too. And if no one shows up, that's good as well.
So, oh god.
And as is tradition, we'll try to keep. At least I'll try my best. Maybe someone else like Full Metal will have interest if you choose to stay on. But I'll try my best to record so we remain transparent. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. And then post those recordings, which I've been really bad at.
Well, we already have a couple DMs who will stay on. We already have 2 people who are moderators that are already used to handling a general server anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine.
Yeah. I do want to say, just as we're closing up here, because I'm gonna need to get out soon and get myself breakfast or dinner. It's breakfast time, but dinner for me. And go to bed. I've been up for 20 hours now, I think. About 20. Anyways, before we close out, do you expect a major shift in roles? I will not be removing certain roles, but I will be marking them as a different name. And what I mean by that is, if you were previously a dungeon master, I'll probably give you a Living World Veteran DM tag. And by that I mean I'll just rename DM to that.
What I want with no limits. My boy, he's free.
He's free.
And Dobby is free.
Dobby is free. Master's been granted a sock. All right. All that said, though, that was very productive. Is there any last minute things people would like to bring up before I close out the recording?
I don't know if somebody wants to, at any point, jointly write, I guess, a related setting using the system. I'll totally do it. That sounds like fun.
I mean, if you want a different planet, feel free.
Exactly.
The galaxy map does have several galaxies that and planets and whatnot that I have not touched. If you want your own galaxy, feel free.
Yeah.
Get an airship.
I mean, yeah, if you guys, some Primogen ruins do have spaceships, not like working spaceships. But the stuff that one could use to make a spaceship. Actually, I think a couple of them do have working spaceships. Fuck. Don't worry, if you want to change settings, it's possible.
No, they you already answered that. They're just in the insane area.
Yeah, they're in the insane area.
So,
you know, if you needed a way as a DM to be like, we're not on Kydron anymore, it's possible. Easily possible.
Got those in place. I've already got those in place. People have been there already.
Yeah.
well, that's why you get
Okay.
a chance to run games.
Think the first
Yeah.
form to start, one for you all to submit everything you are interested in working on, severed from the living world concept, but in terms of the system and world and writing and whatever you have fun with here or are interested here. After that, once we get a grasp on that, we can get a plan together for what the freeze and post-freeze will look at. And then once that's done, we can send out a character story form to the players to start individually resolving and role-playing and whatnot.
Thumbs up.
Sounds good. All right. Well, with all that said, though, I'm going to drop the recording here before I'd actually drop it, though. Appreciate everyone's help throughout the years, all that good stuff. Everyone showing up for the meetings. You know, just being the badasses that you are. Much appreciated. This clearly could not have been done without your help. But, you know, if you all hug, it would be the case. But for now,
So,
take this emote of a heart. Because I cannot physically hug you.
so technically, in theory, next Wednesday, I can tell them they can gain EXP now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my god, finally.
Which means I can now tell everyone in that party next Wednesday, hey, you guys are going to start getting XP and go to tier whatever the fuck. Because
I'm gonna be a vampire.
You release them from their burdens.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, I'm gonna drop the recording here. Appreciate your faces one last time, and well, for the recording purposes. Bye-bye.